Hello, my name is Benji and welcome to Dice vs Cards. Today we talk about Warhammer and why playing both Age of Sigmar and 40k, even in its newly minted 9th edition clothes, can quite literally break your brain. Okay, I'm being a bit dramatic with my language there, but the last time that I and Boy 2 got to the table for a game of Sigmar, the fact that I got schooled by his forces of Aurochs and Grots, or Orcs and Goblins for you and I, was completely ignored, and I attributed my loss to the fact that the subtle rule changes between the two game systems of AOS and 40k had melted my brain. So to put a pin in the preamble and setting of the scene, I, Benji, bring you 8 ways the Games Workshop set out to haunt our dreams and disrupt our cognitive brain function. Number 1. In AOS there is effectively a melee-free and movement-free aura surrounding each and every one of your units that extends a mighty 3 inches. Approximately half the average. Whoa. Got sidetracked there, but it's still a comparatively big length in 28mm scale. 40k on the other hand has more moxie than that, like a brave fight promoter who thinks they can keep both sides apart and so allows 1 whole inch of space between combatants before the fun starts. Number 2. Unbinding spells in AOS is as simple as declaring, I am a wizard and I am within 30 inches of you, sir. You that is trying to cast a spell that I will attempt to interrupt. That seems fair. This has all been play tested and so I defer to my betters on the subject. But when we switch to 40k, you can only unbind, or deny the witch as it's called, within 24 inches. Why GW? Why this campaign of confusion? Why the difference of 6 inches? A length that you seem to be so unconsciously fond of. Explain it to me, or just admit what you're doing. Number 3. Can you shoot into melee combat or not? That should be straightforward. Well, if you're playing AOS, you absolutely positively can. There is no risk of distinguishing between friend or foe, and your accuracy is up to the task as well. You can also, believe it or not, shoot your ammunition in combat. Now for some ranged weapons that makes sense, but for others it's like the thematic equivalent of using a ship's cannon in a boxing ring. 40k of course does not allow these magnificent feats of dexterity and skill, unless of course you are carrying an appropriately portable weapon like a pistol. You also understand the concept of friendly fire, because you cannot or will not risk the lives of your comrades, as there is no shooting at any unit that's currently engaged in fisticuffs. Number 4. Targeting characters and heroes. My oh my, they've gone back and forward on this one, haven't they? In AOS you can target a hero, someone that has the honour of commanding a unit of just themselves, but if they're within 3 inches of a unit with 3 or more models, you'll get -1 to your hit roll. 40k on the other hand says that characters are effectively fog of war invisible so long as they're within 3 inches of a unit with 3+ models, a vehicle or a monster. Unless of course they're the closest model or sufficiently and arbitrarily big and ugly enough to warrant having at least 10 wounds. Then they're absolutely fair game. Number 5. Now this is where things get really petty, because both game systems allow you to, as you'd expect on a battlefield, charge your opponent's units. AOS says, okay, that's fine, roll your 2d6, and so long as you get within 1/2 inch, you're good to go. 40k on the other hand throws just 1 more curveball at your brain and makes that distance 1 full inch. Now those that have much more savvy and know-how than me will probably say, well that's just because of blah and blah. I say, what the bloody hell? Is this not just what learning a second and then third language feels like? Number 6. Overspill. An absolutely glorious word and one that rolls off the tongue like velvet. Apply it to this context and that exuberance quickly turns to WTF. In AOS, if you do X damage, you apply as much of that damage to a model as you can, and then any remaining continues over to the next model. Nice and clean and efficient. But in 40k there's none of that guff. Remaining wounds get lost to the ether, never to be seen again. And to be fair, that's arguably more thematic, but absolutely soul-crushingly disappointing at the same time. The feel-good factor award goes to AOS here. Number 7. So who gets to attack when in melee combat? Very important question, but the answer is, of course, as it's on this list, not a uniform one. In AOS, the player whose turn it is gets only a moderate amount of "it's your turn, love," as whilst you do get to pick the first unit to play handbags with, you immediately swap back and forth after that. However, the good old cavalry charge in 40k gives you an added bonus of attacking with all those units first, and only then, starting with the other player, do you alternate between you. In other words, always be charging. And finally, number 8 is a sneaky little entry into the list because AOS understands the concept of piling in at the start of combat, but cannot fathom or comprehend the opportunity to consolidate at the end of an attack. Unlike its 40k brethren that, I suppose, to be fair, had about 40,000 years to discover the concept. So there you have it, an extremely serious peek into the first world problems of dual AOS 40k players. That does though conclude this series of videos focusing on Warhammer. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more. Next week though, we'll be focusing on a different system. However, that's it from me. I'll see you next time.